Anger is a feeling that a lot of teenagers go through. So with the beginning of teenage years, you might have felt yourself getting outrageous and getting triggered more and more as trauma solidifies itself in your feeling body, in your emotional body. The muscles and the nervous system get accustomed to a blockage of emotions that doesn't flow, that doesn't allow you to express yourself as you should. So the emotions become perverted and you start becoming the rebellious person in your family, basically. And your personality consists of this angry, moving forward, destructive behavior. And that's going to cause a lot of friction between you and your parents, between you and your siblings, between you and your friends, and a lot of shit happens. Then everybody will tell you that, oh, okay, this is just the teenage years. You're going to be a teenager, an angry one, because you've got raging hormones, as they call them, and I'm pretty sure they don't know what hormones cause that, because people just regurgitate what they've been told before. And we've got something that's going to basically change the game or change the whole perspective, and that is when you reach adulthood and you still find yourself angry. You still find yourself as an angry person. You can't control yourself. You meet someone new that you like, that you want to spend your time with, and then you say, I would never get angry at that person. But then something happens and you completely forget what happens and you lash out on that person. You explode on that person. And then at the end of the day, you're going to regret it over and over again because you gave yourself that promise that you didn't keep. And you're confused. You don't know what's happening. And that happened to me throughout all my life. I used to be an intense person to be around. I had anger all of the time, literally 24/7, waiting to get triggered and to release that trauma, to release that energy, to release that anger and lash out on people. And that was because I didn't know how to handle the emotions, which is a fault of our society. They do not teach us how to handle such emotions. They don't show us and they don't try to explain to us what anger is. And that used to baffle me and basically confuse me in the early years of my university. Basically, when I started university, I couldn't really understand why I would get angry. I read all the books. I read all of the trauma-related books, all of the trending techniques to deal with these emotions. So speaking of the Stephen Porges, the bioenergetics, the delving into your subconscious mind, and I went through all of that. Basically, I could not handle it. I could not handle it, and I even got into this esoteric woo-woo hocus pocus thing. Oh shit, that fell. Anyways, so basically that took me into a deep rabbit hole of trying to heal my emotions, trying to heal my anger, but I couldn't really heal it, did I? Basically, I put myself in that situation and I started saying to myself, I won't start functioning in the world until I heal my anger. And that brought me even more and more anger. I would try to sit home and sit with my emotions and try to understand the emotions. At first, that is good, and I'll tell you why. But then, if you keep doing it for too long, you're going to be lost. And that's something that a lot of people are lost in. They tell them, you are an angry person. You are an angry person because you identify with being angry. How about you say, oh no, I'm not an angry person. I just have this thing that triggers me. And that's where you can start off. Because if you say, I'm an angry person, you identify with being angry. And therefore, you will become what you say because your word is your wand. That's my description here on YouTube. Your word is your wand because whatever you speak affects everything within you. If you say that I am an angry person over and over and over again, you're going to stick to that. You best believe that you're going to stick to that, and you will be an angry person. If you say, oh, I'm a shy person, you're going to stick to that because you keep saying it to yourself. A lot of people come to me and are like, oh man, I'm not a very confident person. Why are you saying that? Like, why are you reinforcing it? You know that if you speak, something is going to be reinforced. Even if it's a joke sometimes. I know self-deprecation is really good, yeah, when it comes to comedic purposes, even in socializing with people, when you talk to people and you self-deprecate a little bit, especially when you're a high-value person, that would come off as sweet, as very attractive, because you're already someone who could do things in their life. But if you just come off and say, oh, I'm not an attractive person, I'm not a confident person, I'm an angry person, that's going to take you into a rabbit hole that you cannot escape. And that's why you should change your identity. I actually have been listening to this audiobook. It's a famous book, but I delved into it just recently. It's called Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits basically talks about how you can change micro habits. And the way you change them, okay, you take action, but there is the mental factor, which is, okay, I am someone who wakes up in the morning and makes his bed and fixes this, and that. And if you don't say that, if you say, oh, I'm a very lazy person, I cannot do that, and you try to do that, there is an incongruency going on there, because your belief is not in accordance with your action. And, you know, we all know the art of the karma, you know, thought and action, yeah? Thought and action is very important. You need to be in congruence to give or to create in the world. We all know that, but we don't do it. So focus on changing your identity. Start actually telling yourself, hey, I'm not an angry person, but I have this issue where I get angry easily, and this is why, and you can try to understand it. Therefore, we can talk about anger with the more time goes, all right? I'm thinking of making a long form video talking about anger, and I go deep into the rabbit hole. I've said rabbit hole too much these days because I've been watching The Matrix, and I realize that The Matrix is basically Alice in Wonderland. Believe it or not, it's very crazy. It's fucking mind-blowing. Anyway, so you change who you are by literally saying what you want to become. You say, I'm not an angry person, I just get triggered easily, and I get angry because this and this and this and that happens, and that leads me to not be able to control that burst of energy, and then now I know what's happening. And when you know what's happening, you can control it with time. So the way it happened to me, I would, for example, when I would get angry back in the day, that was last year actually, when I would get angry, I would not completely, but let's say I would lose most of my consciousness, and just basically my body starts reacting on its own, because emotions basically are in the body. Yeah, the body is your emotions. Basically, your emotions, you feel them inside of your heart, inside of your belly, right? That's where you feel stress and anxiety most of the time. And when you get that burst of energy, which is a survival type of energy, because anger in its nature is very productive, and it's very destructive as well. Anything that can construct can destruct. That is a rule of thumb that you need to keep in mind. So when you know how to work with it, you know how to just feel it, just keep it there and try to shut the fuck up. That's it. So mostly when you get angry from now on, one thing that you need to do is you get angry and shut the fuck up. Just say, okay, today I'm not going to talk. Today, if I get angry, if my mother pisses me off, I'm just going to shut up. I'm just going to go back to my room. And then I'm not saying you go and medicate yourself with food or with alcohol, with drugs, with weed. No, I'm saying you go back to your room and you actually give it quality time thought, multidimensional thought. Think in a horizontal, vertical, and a perpendicular way. And that's going to give you more perspective, and you're going to understand yourself. And since we are creatures of habit, the nervous system will get used to not fire up in those moments, because the message that's going to be sent to your nervous system and ultimately to your brain, the amygdalas and the hypothalamus, etc. All of this jargon that we shouldn't get into right now in this video, because I don't want to mind masturbate you too much in this video. It's going to be basically, hey, that trigger is not that self-threatening. It's not that life-threatening. It's not going to threaten my person, my ego, and my image. So I'm not going to get into that. And that's going to push you forward. And one thing when it comes to healing trauma and healing your anger, try not to react to it as much, is basically knowing that, okay, you can explore an emotion, sit, write about it, maybe for 1 day, 2 days, and then don't mind masturbate and don't sit there and try to block yourself. Don't stop yourself from living. You actually need to go out and act, because that's where you can train yourself to deal with the emotion. And that is very important. That's very important. A lot of people don't know about that. They think that healing an emotion happens when you sit alone meditating in your fucking room, which is bollocks, man. It's bullshit. Those people who say this are bullshitters, man. They are charlatans, and I challenge every one of them, because I know them and I used to listen to them, and they don't know what they're talking about. They just keep masturbating everybody en masse and people getting lost. And then you get bullshit like people who say, oh, you know, feel your emotions, and then you fucking end up, you know, they end up killing somebody or something, becoming psychopaths or narcissistics. Right? Narcissistic people only think about themselves. They only talk about themselves, think about themselves, and they think that they are very important, when in reality you're not that important. And that's one thing that's going to help you with your anger as well. You're not that important. That feeling, that trigger is not that important. If it's a personal thing, if it's a distinction, of course there is a distinction between disrespect. If someone really disrespected you, try not to lash out. Shut up at that moment. Pick a moment in the future where you calm down a little bit, relatively speaking, and get that person to sit down and actually tell them, instead of saying, hey, motherfucker, I want to fucking slap you in the fucking face, right? You want to do that, right? You want to say, I want to slap you in the motherfucking face. No, don't say that. You say, listen, brother, I do not accept and I do not respect that thing that you did. I do not respect you when you do that to me. So you can say it in a way that's less aggressive, of course. Okay, let me give you a better example. You say, listen, man, I respect you so much. This is very uncomfortable a little bit, but I have to tell you this. What you did earlier, 2 hours ago, I really didn't appreciate it. I would never do that to you. And could you please stop doing that? If they listen, good. If they don't listen, make it be a little bit more firm. Say, hey, man, listen, I know maybe you're not understanding maybe you didn't understand what I'm talking about, get my point, but I really want you to stop doing that. And this is not a joke, and this is a red line that I don't want you to cross. And if they don't, okay, if really they don't want to listen, that's where the problem can start. You can get into teaching them a lesson, which is a solution, basically, right? It could be a solution if you can just extract yourself, withdraw yourself from the situation and never see that person again. Tell them to fuck off and never talk to you again. Or if you can't, if they're always around you, you have to fucking, you know, basically find a solution, however the solution is, okay? Because, of course, what are you going to do about that? You're going to let people mistreat you? No, of course not. Okay, so basically this was my video about anger. I think this is pretty vague, but in the future I'm going to be talking more about anger. So thank you so much.